Why is it that in the same situation, one person becomes stronger while another falls apart? In the same adversity, one person matures while another becomes bitter. Could it be that what makes the difference is not life itself, but the internal structure of each individual? Welcome back to Inner World Podcast, where I, Liam Johnson, journey with you to explore the depth of your inner world, understand the operating system of the mind, and gradually build a more awakened and authentic version of yourself. Here, we do not offer quick answers, but instead ask the right questions. Not just inspiration, but a real roadmap for awareness that you can practice, apply, and transform with. In this 21-session deep dive series on elevating inner awareness, you and I will embark on a journey of self-discovery, not through slogans, but through a clear, step-by-step path grounded in a solid understanding of human structure. In the previous session, we discussed a foundational topic, honesty and inner mastery through understanding the mind's structure. And today we will go deeper with a more specific approach. 16 human traits, 16 core inner states, revealing nearly every way you react, choose, act, and live each day. You may have heard hundreds of tips about how to live, work, and love. But if you don't understand what's really operating inside of you, then all those tips are like patching a wall that's cracking from the inside. That is why today's content is especially important. Because when you recognize traits like craving, anger, delusion, arrogance, and doubt, you'll no longer be swept away by them without knowing why. When you clearly see the mechanics of wealth, beauty, and fame, you'll stop living by society's expectations and start living true to yourself. And you know what? The most fascinating part lies at the end of the video, where I will reveal the common point among all these traits. The core knot that causes you to repeat negative behaviors without even realizing it. And that very point, once seen and unraveled, becomes the lever transform your entire life. So, if you've ever asked, I know a lot, I learn a lot, but why do I still feel stuck in a loop? Or, why do I try to change but end up back where I started? Then I believe today's content is the missing piece in your awareness journey. Together, we won't just identify these traits. We'll learn to observe, master, and transform them, not through theory, but through practical awareness. This isn't just another podcast episode. It's a small turning point that could lead you to a much deeper life. Stay until the end of the video, and you'll understand. You don't need to run faster. You just need to return to your true inner self. Are you ready? If you want to master a machine, the first thing you need is an instruction manual. And if you want to master your life, the first thing you need is to understand how your inner mechanism operates. Your inner world, like an operating system, runs non-stop even when you are not aware of it. Every day, every decision, every emotion you experience stems from a very sophisticated system within you. And here I want you to start from the root, not from advice or strategy, but from the operating mechanism of consciousness. It includes 4 foundational components: sensation, imagination, formation, and consciousness. These are the first 4 wheels that shape all your behaviors, emotions, and thoughts. Understand them, and you will understand yourself. Without understanding them, you are just a blindfolded driver lost in the maze of life. But once you understand and control these 4 wheels, you will get where you need to go simply and gracefully. Ascension, the gateway to release the world. To become, you must understand what is coming in. Sensation is the first stage, when you receive feelings, images, sounds, smells, tastes, touches. For example, a word can be as gentle as water or as sharp as a knife. But what triggers your reaction is not the word itself, but the feeling you receive from it. That is sensation. And this is the first place where you must be aware, because if you do not control what you receive, you are letting the external world shape your inner world. You can choose to receive the negative or choose not to attach to it. You can choose to receive the beautiful and nourish it. The power of choice always begins here. Imagination, the inner image of a machine. After you receive, you begin to imagine. And imagination here is not just fantasy. It is the layer of images in your mind. Reflection, you go back to the past, recalling what happened. Present imagery, you create mental images of what you are thinking now. Projection, you paint the future, even though it has not happened. And this is where many people get stuck. Not because the present is painful, but because they are recalling a painful past. Not because they are in danger, but because they are imagining an uncertain future. The mind does not know what is real or imagined. It reacts as if everything you think is real. And if you do not learn to master this imagination part, you will live in illusion while thinking you are awake. Formation, react or act. Formation is the layer that appears right after imagination. It is the impact, the expression outward. And the question is, are you acting or just reacting? When someone annoys you, do you react or pause to notice what is operating? When you see someone succeed, do you feel envy or do you learn? When an opportunity comes, do you hesitate or do you act? And formation is not simply doing something, it is how you respond to life. If you act based on sensation, you become a slave to emotion. If you act based on imagination, you are led by illusion. Only when you have consciousness can you act with clarity. Consciousness, awareness, is the key to transformation. If sensation is receiving, imagination is processing, and formation is reacting, then consciousness is the observer. Consciousness is the knowing. It is awareness. It is mindfulness. No one teaches you how to watch yourself thinking. No one teaches you how to notice emotions rising without being swept away. But that is where everything begins to change. When you have consciousness, you see yourself being pulled by craving. You see yourself being dominated by anger. You notice diluted images clouding your reason. And you are no longer a victim. You start to become the observer, then the chooser, then the doer. And that is when you start living in the present, instead of being swept away by the waves. Why must you understand these 4 parts? If you skip this part, all personal development skills are just superficial layers. You may learn to manage time, communicate, set goals, but if inside you still react by habit, you are just reacting more intelligently, not living more meaningfully. This provides you with a solid foundation. Because I believe to build a sturdy house, you must start from the foundation. And sensation, imagination, formation, consciousness are the foundation of consciousness. You just need to look within once and see how have you really been living. From tomorrow, you can start with the simplest things. Observe an emotion as it arises. Notice a thought as it forms. Pause for 5 seconds before reacting. Record one behavior you want to change. And little by little, you will see. Success is not built in a day. It's built in the daily choices you make when no one is watching. You can choose again, moment by moment, to live from awareness, not reflex. And if you stay committed, everything in your life will begin to change from within. If sensation, imagination, formation, and consciousness are the mechanisms of the inner world, then what comes next is the fuel, the forces that drive you to act, decide, and live each day. I call them the basic human desires. They are like fire. When properly regulated, they warm your life. But when out of control, they can burn down your career, relationships, and inner peace. Remember this. Excellence is not about perfection. It's about consistency. And if you want to live with consistent awareness, you need to clarify what is driving you from within. Because if you do not master desire, desire will master you. Wealth, the craving for achievement and possession. What is wealth? It is the talent you want to express, the money you want to hold, the achievements you want to reach. This is one of the strongest human motivators. No one denies the importance of material things. But the issue is not having, it is how much is enough. Some begin with legitimate desires, then gradually get pulled into a bottomless spiral. Because wealth never stops on its own. If you do not know where to stop, there will never be a destination. Remember this, you can own the whole world, but if you do not own yourself, you still have nothing. Beauty and attraction. Some spend their entire youth chasing others' opinions through their face, body, clothing, or style. Beauty is not wrong. Everyone wants to look good and be liked. But if you make beauty the center of your values, you become a slave to others' gaze. There's something I often repeat. You don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. You don't have to reject beauty, but you must reset your value system. Who am I without praise from others? If you don't have an answer to that, all that glamour is just a fragile shell. Fame, recognition, and reputation. If wealth is what you hold, and beauty is what you display, then fame is what you wish to be recognized for. Everyone wants to be known, but the question is, known for what? Some build their reputation from the core, others build it from the outside. Fame without substance is just a bubble in the wind. And there is one thing you must remember. Don't mistake movement for achievement. Being well known does not mean you are improving. You can be loud on the surface, but empty inside. Choose a reputation that comes with real value, not just an echo that the wind can blow away at any moment. Food to eat, and satisfaction. Food may seem simple, but without awareness, it easily leads to indulgence. Many people use food as a way to escape emotion, eating when sad, bored, or stressed, and falling into a cycle with no exit. The question is, are you eating to nourish your body or to soothe your mind? A meal can calm hunger, but it cannot heal emptiness. And if you're filling emotional gaps with material things, you will always feel lacking. Sleep, rest, and escape. Sleep and rest are necessary, but when they become your way to escape reality, they turn into disguised laziness. Some say, "I need more energy. I need more sleep." But the truth is, they are not lacking sleep. They are lacking a reason to wake up. If you can win the morning, you can win the day. The person who masters the morning is the one who has a reason to rise. Not to avoid fatigue, but to step into a meaningful day. These are all things that humans need, but are easily turned into things we depend on. They are tools, but if you are not mindful, they will control you instead. You don't need to give them up, but you must master them, and before you master them, you must understand them deeply. In the previous section, we examined the 5 basic desires, natural cravings that easily pull us in if not kept in check. Now comes a part of you that needs no voice, no reason, no logic. It only takes a moment, and suddenly you lose control. I am talking about core emotions, fundamental afflictions, the forces running your life from within, even when you do not know their names. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lower their standards when things get hard. And what makes things get hard? Not the circumstances, but the emotions you experience when facing them. You do not give up because the world is too harsh, but because something inside you is not strong enough. So today I want you to look deeper into the 5 core afflictions we all face at some point. Craving, anger, delusion, arrogance, doubt. Craving, when desire becomes demand. Remember the previous section. We said that wealth, beauty, fame, food, rest are not wrong, but when unchecked, they turn into craving. Craving wealth, craving beauty, craving fame, craving food, craving rest. Craving is not just wanting. Craving is wanting at any cost. It is the refusal to let go, the urge to hold, accumulate, satisfy endlessly. But the more you cling, the more you lose control. Like holding sand in your hand, the tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. Craving turns you from a pursuer into the one being pushed. It drives you from purposeful action into blind reaction. When things don't go your way. If craving is wanting, anger is the reaction when you don't get what you want. Have you ever been angry just because someone didn't understand you? Snapped. Just because something small didn't go as planned. Ever ask yourself, why do I get so angry? So easily. Anger is not an evil trait. It is the result of not mastering imagination and sensation. You imagine others meant to hurt you, you sense offense, and then you act from anger. And in moments of anger, that's when you need inner discipline the most. Not to suppress emotions, but to avoid being driven in the wrong direction by them. Delusion, when the eyes are open, but the mind is dark. Delusion is not as loud as craving, not as explosive as anger. Delusion is the fog in awareness. It is blindness. It is when you do not know what you are thinking, believing, or doing. It is when you follow an emotion and believe it to be truth. It is when you chase a habit and call it your identity. A delusion makes you live in illusion. The illusion that you are always right. The illusion that others must change. the illusion that tomorrow will be different, while today you live the same. And here is the key point. You are either reinforcing habits of mediocrity or training yourself for greatness. If you are unaware of delusion, you will reinforce blindness through repeated behavior. Arrogance when you think you are above others. There is a subtle form of delusion, arrogance. Arrogance is thinking you know enough. It is comparing yourself and feeling superior. It is no longer listening because you believe you've been through it all. Arrogance shuts the door to learning. And the danger is this: it often appears in those who believe they are most awakened. You may read books, meditate, study self-development, but if your heart keeps saying, "I am better than them," then arrogance is quietly growing. Remember this. Innocence is not a result, it's a way of being. And when your being is governed by arrogance, you stop moving forward. You, when the heart no longer believes in anything. You know that feeling of doubting everything? Not trusting others, not trusting yourself, not believing in change. Doubt is not because you are too logical. It is because you are emotionally wounded. Someone once broke your trust. A past failure made you close your heart. And now you walk into the world thinking, "I trust no one." But in truth, you do not trust yourself. Doubt is what keeps you out of the game of life, just because of fear, loss, and imagined threats. Craving, anger, delusion, arrogance, doubt are not things to avoid or feel ashamed of. They are inseparable parts of being human. The question is not whether you have them, but whether you see and master them. If you keep nurturing these afflictions, they become your new normal. But if you see them, you can change. You do not need to fight them, just observe them. And then, by applying the principle of light mentioned in the previous section, even a small light shining through the cracks will begin to dissolve the darkness within. Because I believe that when you understand how emotions operate, they will no longer control you. We must recognize that there are negative habits deeply embedded and fixations that make you react in old patterns repeatedly, even when your reason wants change. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And the system here is not schedule, tool, or plan, but the unconscious habits running inside you every day. You don't need more willpower, you need clearer awareness. Because a habit is not something you choose every day, it is something you repeat without noticing. And one evil when emotional numbness becomes a defensive reaction. Evil sounds heavy. But don't rush to think of something terrible. Evil, in an inner sense, is when you act from numbness, coldness, disconnecting human connection simply to protect yourself. Sometimes you hurt others not because you are cruel, but because you have been hurt too much and choose not to feel anymore. Evil is the result of a heart that stops feeling. And that is one of the most dangerous things, because when you stop feeling, you also stop connecting, stopping loving, stopping understanding. And if you do not see this part in yourself, you will think you are only being strong, while in fact you are paralyzing yourself. A fixation when truth becomes a stubborn view. In the journey of self-development, there is a very dangerous trap, and that is when you think you already understand. Fixation is clinging to what you see. You can see rightly, but then lock it into absolute correctness. You can learn something valuable and then use it to judge others. A stubborn person is not wrong. They are afraid to be wrong. They fear changing their perspective because that means their entire worldview could collapse. But you know, growth is not about defending your old beliefs. It's about being willing to evolve beyond them. You don't need to give up the belief. You just need to learn to hold it consciously. The most dangerous thing about negative habits and fixations is not that you have them, but that you think they are you. A person living in anger thinks they are strong. A person living in doubt thinks they are cautious. A person who judges often thinks they are sharp. A person who rejects emotion thinks they control themselves well. And so they protect those habits as if they are protecting their identity. So have you ever asked, what is inside me that I am protecting even though I know it is destroying me? It could be a negative habit you know you should drop. A limiting belief you know is outdated. A reaction you know is no longer appropriate. But you still hold on to it because you haven't dared to let go. Negative habits and fixations do not disappear by thought. They disappear when you identify them when they arrive. Do not identify with them. Choose a different reaction, even if just 1% each day. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about never stopping. You do not need to change everything in one day, but you need to start today. A new cycle. Try this. Every time you feel a negative emotion arise, ask yourself, how have I reacted before? Then choose a new way, even if it is very small. Each time you do this, you are breaking a piece of invisible chain. Each time you do this, you are creating a new version of yourself. A self no longer driven by reflex, but living from choice. Evil fixation and all negative habits are not your enemy. They are parts of you created for survival. But if they are not updated, they will become barriers to growth. Excellence is not what you do once, it's what you do every day. And each day you can choose again to live more mindfully, more deeply, more gently. Dear friend, if you have stayed with me until this very moment, then I believe that somewhere within you, a part has begun to stir, because you have just reconnected with yourself. We do not lack information. What we need is inner direction. We do not lack motivation. We lack the understanding to stop repeating. And most importantly, we do not lack the desire to change. We lack a truly mindful journey with an inner foundation. If what I shared today resonates with you, then you might consider liking, commenting, or sharing the video as a way for me to know your thoughts and feedback. It also helps the platform share and suggest the video to those seeking inner awareness. And if you feel this is the right space for you, where you find truth, depth, and peace, then please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Not for me, but for your own commitment to your inner journey. We do not need to rush. We just need to go in the right direction. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next sessions where the inner journey continues to unfold steadily, truthfully, and full of hope.